Okay, we're live. Hey everybody, this is Bradley Benner with Semantic Mastery, and this is Hump Day Hangouts, episode 229. And let's see, Adam's not here today, and he usually drives this train wreck. So, so I'm going to try to announce everybody as well as he does. We've got everyone here except for Adam, so I'm going to go on down the line as we see it. Chris, how you doing?
Doing good. Super excited that I got my report out, the PDF. I hope everybody liked it. And yeah, if you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend it. It's in our free group. I think it's called facebook.com/group/SEO tutorials. And yeah, let me know what you think.
Why don't you post it on this page too, Chris?
Yeah, give me a second. I'll do it in a bit. By the way, how are you doing today?
Me, I'm well. I'm happy to be here. I got a lot of cool stuff to talk about today, guys, before we get into questions, because we got several new services available on MGYB. I'll get to that in a minute. Let's get through the introductions first. So Hernan, you're up next. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm super excited. And yeah, Adam just confirmed that we were right. He wanted us talking about MGYB and the benefits that they will bring to our beloved audience. So we're good. I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
That's good.
A lot of good stuff happening. And this is the type of shit that I have to deal with when talking to Adam. You know what I'm saying? So anyways.
That's awesome. And then last but not least, Marco, how are you?
Hey, what's up, man? I want to just do this live. Chris, that PDF was awesome, man. And let me tell you why. Because that's just a small sample. And as soon as I saw it, I said, holy crap. What if you just take this and like 10x it? I know that you're doing it. It was like a plaything for you, right? Yeah, 4 hours. This is what I made. So you're at around $125 an hour. So imagine if you actually spent 8 hours, or if you spent a week on it. Right? You spent 4 hours, but what if you spent a week on it? 4 hours each day, which is only 20 hours. It's only half your work. Well, half most people's work week is about a quarter of mine. But imagine how much you could get done. And if you do 4 times what you did, well, now you're over $1,000 a month recurring, which you can then just leave alone, basically. So I just wanted to tell you, man, that friggin' PDF rocks. And the people don't realize the value in that, then it's their loss and their problem. They have a hood pulled over their eyes because they've been taught by the SEO experts and gurus and ninjas and fucktards that it's difficult to do this thing. It's very difficult, and it takes science, and it takes correlations, and it takes all of this software, and you have to buy all of these shiny objects in order to be able to make it work. And you did it, wham, wham, 4 hours. Thank you. Give me my money. So, man, big ups on what you did, and people follow it. You want to make money? Just follow what Chris laid down. And, of course, I got to pat myself on the back because he did use drive stacks.
Of course, like I'm using our methods here. Like, thanks for the heads up. So what do we do here?
Yeah, well, that's why. Okay, so Hernan, Hernan pasted the link, guys, to the free Facebook group. So yeah, if you want to join, if you want to see the PDF that Marco's talking about and that Chris created, which is amazing, just go join the free Facebook group. You'll see it in there, and you can download it or check it out there. But what's great about it is one of our members. I can't remember who it was that mentioned it, but was talking about how he posted this real long testimonial about how he read through it and how it really was, very enlightening. And it's a great reply or review of the PDF, because, guys, there are too many people in this industry that overcomplicate stuff. I mean, we have students or members that come into our groups that, they spend hours developing a silo architecture drawing for some website that they want to build, that like hours and hours of research and developing all these crazy methods, and then they say, hey, what do you think about this? And it's like, you just spent a ton of time that you could have been actually building an asset that would start producing for you. So I mean, again, I'm not picking on anybody here, but I think what he had said and what Marco was just saying, and what Chris's PDF guide shows, is that we don't need to overcomplicate stuff all the time. Sometimes we're going to have projects that are very complex, but for the most part, we overcomplicate stuff, and we don't need to. We can learn to simplify, just take action. Taking action on the simple stuff that is foundational. It might not be as sexy, might not be as, as sophisticated, but it's the stuff that works. And that's really why we try, we try to provide you guys with training like that as often as possible, excuse me. So do we, a couple other like housekeeping things real quick, guys, before we get into the questions and the announcements that we have and all that is, if you're here for the first time, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we've got a ton of videos. We do these Hump Day Hangouts every single week. This is episode 229, and we actually chop those questions and answers up from the video and upload them as separate individual videos. So if you ever have questions, you can go to our YouTube channel and use the search channel function and just type your question in, and oftentimes you'll be able to find an answer there. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Also, we have a support desk knowledge base area, which is at support.semanticmastery.com, which there's frequently asked questions there as well. I still think the YouTube channel is your best bet, but you can always go to our support.semanticmastery.com site to check out questions specific to some of our products there. And what else does Adam usually say? Somebody want to tell me?
If you're new to Semantic Mastery, subscribe to the YouTube channel, come to the Hump Day Hangouts. If you want a step-by-step blueprint after you've read Chris' PDF, get the battle plan, battleplan.semanticmastery.com. And if you're ready to join this awesome community of people that we have been helping, and they have been helping us for the past 4 or 5 years, go to mastermind.semanticmastery.com. We have a couple of new people jumping in over the past couple of days, so you guys are awesome. Thank you for that. And I think that's pretty much all he mentions, right?
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
All right, and so now I'm going to get into a couple announcements. So MGYB, which is our store. If we're done for you services, guys, it's mgyb.co, which stands for Make Google Your Bitch.co. That's the website. That's our store now, or our marketplace, whatever you want to call it. We just launched several new products in the last week, and just this week, I should say. We've got our link building manager who has been working with me. He originally started working for me, but now he's got his own company, his own business. So he's a contractor for us, but he is just an absolute ninja. He's been building links for me for 6 years now, 5 or 6 years, I think 6 years. And he's just absolutely amazing. There's no better link builder in the business when it comes to using spam links, spam tools and that kind of stuff, which don't think that's a bad thing, guys. There's very strategic ways to use that if you know how to do it. And this guy knows what he's doing. Well, we've got the link building service available now in MGYB store. We've also got the link indexing service. We get a lot of questions all the time about how to get links indexed. Well, our service has got one of the highest success rates available, because it's handled by our link building manager, who does a ton of spam type links, or so they need to be indexed in order to get the most juice out of them. So he's really, really good at that. And we also have the embeds available, which is, embedding is the new way to get do follow link juice out of even no follow type sites. So the embed service, you can embed GMB maps, you can embed my maps, you can embed videos, YouTube videos, obviously. You can embed pretty much anything that can be iframed. And that's really where there's a ton of power right now. One of the most, and Marco could talk about this briefly, but one of the most powerful things that you can do is do an embed blast and then link building to the embeds. It's very, very powerful. Marco, you want to chat about that for a minute?
Yeah, without giving away too much, it's the foundation of ROIS Academy Reloaded. Now, people think it's other things, and so since Google closes some things off, they think, oh, it's dead, it's not working. Well, good. If you think it's not working, then the people who are in ROIS Academy Reloaded are really happy, because it's one less person in there that could possibly compete in their niche, right? And so it leaves the niche all to them, so they can just take over. And I've talked about this before. We got people taking over mortgage loans, right? Mortgage lenders. It's not easy keywords, and I've talked about it before. Plumber plus city, try ranking for that. How difficult is that? And we've managed it on a test, on just a test with spam links. I've talked about this before. So now we have it, and how we're going to make it available which is incredible. Dedia can embed just about anything that doesn't have an X-frame. And for those of you who don't know, who are rather new to this thing, an X-frame will not allow a website to be embedded. So something like the New York Times, Google Search, and other websites have instituted that. So because they kind of know, or they don't want their website embedded on something else, because it's their reputation, it's their website, it's their content. So you can understand that. At any rate, there's plenty of other websites that can be embedded. and it just works like crazy. And yes, an embed run, link building to the embed run, tiered link building, and the final step, which Bradley has the course, right? YouTube, pay Google to send you traffic and validate your entire entity, and the entire, all of the link streams coming into your entity can be validated by using Google. You pay Google a little bit to get a whole lot. That's the idea. Always use Google to your benefit. Don't let Google use you.
There you go. So I'm trying to post a photo on this, a screenshot, guys, on this new Facebook comments thing. We were having issues with the Discuss app for the last few webinars that we've done since we had to change format since Google event pages got terminated. And unfortunately, we were using the Discuss app that it wasn't working real well. Some people weren't able to post or whatever. So now we're trying Facebook comments, and I'm not much of a Facebook fan, so I've got to get used to this. But unfortunately, it looks like we can't post images, which sucks, because we used to get a lot of really funny memes from our members or audience. And I don't know how to post it, guys. If you guys know how to post a image, let me know, because I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
It doesn't look like you can post photos. So anyways, I just posted on the page, there's a screenshot that says it's posting a Semantic Mastery link building results to an iframe loop. In fact, let me go ahead and just grab the screen and we'll get into some of this stuff anyways. You guys okay with that?
Yeah, but not too much.
Let's do it.
Yeah, no, I just want to share some results here. All right, so this right here is a screenshot. I'll zoom in on it a little bit, of a project of mine. It's a GMB asset that the only thing that I did was I set up the local iframe loop, which is part of our training. We covered it in Syndication Academy. It's also covered in Local Lease Pro, and it's also part of Local GMB Pro and ROIS Academy and the Mastermind. So pretty much any one of our paid trainings, it's part of, okay? And so it's setting up what we call an add-ID iframe loop. It's using the power of embeds, embedded properties. And all I did was set this up for a GMB asset, and I used the same link building service that we have available in MGYB store. It's the same guy that has been building links for me for about 6 years now. And we have different levels, but this was I used the competitive level package, which is 7,000 tier 1 links and 20,000 tier 2 links, pointed with one target URL, which was the add ID page. Again, part of the local iframe loop, which that's a service that we're going to be providing to you guys inside of MGYB. Right now, it's available to Mastermind members only. It's a done for you service. But, so essentially we will build the iframe loop for you, but that's only available to Mastermind members currently. But within the next 2 to 4 weeks, we're going to make that available publicly as in the store. Okay, so anybody can buy that. But right now, it's only available to Mastermind members. So essentially, all I did was set that up, and then I used the link building service, which was the competitive level, 7,000 tier 1 links, 20,000 tier 2 links, pointing to one target URL, which was the add ID page. And look at the results, guys. Look at the results. All those keywords in the top 10, and most of them are in the top 5. See that? And in my local, and I'm in the 3-pack for many of those keywords. This is for a tree service site. So, or tree service GMB asset. You see that? So, I mean, it's incredibly powerful. And that was just, I mean, when you can do something that easy, set up our iframe loop training, which if you learn how to do it, you can do it on your own, or you could buy it from us when that's available, and then just buy a link building package, point it at it, and get similar results. I can't promise you're going to get these kind of results every time. It's going to depend on the market and all that kind of stuff. But the point is, it was easy for me, because all I had to do was tell my team, build the add ID loop for me. And then I contacted our link builder and said, hey, I need this link building package. What do you suggest? And he said, the competitive package. I said, okay, do it. And about 2 weeks later, I got the report back from him. And it takes a little while for all those links to kick in. But you can see this screenshot was just taken yesterday or maybe 2 days ago. So it was 1 or 2 days ago that I took the screenshot from Pro Rank Tracker, guys. And you can see those kind of results from a GMB asset. It's incredible. All right. So that's what you guys can get over there. All right, we're going to keep moving. We've got, the only thing that sucks is I don't know if these comments update in real time either.
Yeah, they do.
I got to get used to this stuff, man. All right.
Yep.
I'm not much of a Facebook fan. All right, I'm going to start at the bottom. We're going to keep get rolling. Just one more thing about that. Like I said, the GMB off-page services, guys, right now we're still gun shy, right? We're a little bit nervous about doing any sort of or offering done for you on-page GMB work where we have to, actually optimize a GMB asset. It's because Google is still right now kind of on a rampage trying to shut or suspend GMB assets with they're just very easily triggered to be suspended now. So we're not willing to give that or offer that as a service right now. However, the off-page stuff, which wouldn't affect your GMB asset other than to help it rank, that's something that we can provide. Again, it's available in the mastermind only right now, but that's only because we're just it's my team that I trained personally for the exact same procedures and processes that I use for my business. So, and it's my personal VA. Well, I say personal, they're company VAs, but they've been working exclusively with me on my team for the last 5 months. And so they're really, really good at what we do for that specific method, the iframe loop, and in some of the other off-page stuff that we do. So they're the ones that are actually going to be fulfilling this service for the mastermind members currently. Once we get that, because now we're doing it for others, we just got to get the fulfillment basically smoothed out, make sure we work out any bugs within the processes of fulfilling and delivering the service. And once we have that ready, then we're going to make that available in MGYB for you guys as well, for those of you that are not part of the mastermind. So again, it's something that I would encourage you guys to look out for in the next few weeks, or come join the mastermind so you can get to it now, because it's something that's just incredibly powerful. It's working really, really well. All right. So we're going to go to Matt Hale first. He says, is it a good idea to find expiring domains with keywords in the URL and natural links going to them, and in 301 those to a Google site? Or would it be better to just send PBNs to the Google site instead? Assuming the PBNs will probably be more powerful, but will probably be random URLs compared to relevant URLs and less power with the expiring domains. That's a good question, because I don't really do much PBN work anymore. I really haven't for several years, Matt. I would say I always recommend relevancy over power, because when power is really just a third-party metrics is what you're looking at, right? So when you're talking about PBNs, unless you're getting links from private blog sites or network sites that are highly relevant to your target URL, then really how is that good? Like, it used to be several years ago when I did a lot of PBN work, metrics were something that you could use to, if you had properties that had high trust flow or high DA or page authority, especially from the, the pages that was linking to your site, that kind of stuff, you could get, we used to call it domain authority manipulation, that kind of stuff. We could do that kind of stuff and get results, but Google's algorithm has gotten so much more sophisticated, and it's looking more for relevancy than third-party metrics. You got to remember, guys, the metrics that you see from Majestic or from Moz or from Ahrefs, those are proprietary third-party metrics. That's their best guess. It's an educated guess, I'll give you that, but it's their best guess as to what Google is determining, how to rate or quantify the power or the link equity of a site or a page. But none of those companies work directly for Google. The PageRank algorithm, PageRank is still alive and well, but it's an internal thing that is closely guarded. So none of the companies actually have insight, like, specific insight as to what Google is doing and how they're ranking pages and scoring and all that kind of stuff. So they're all proprietary metrics. Again, they're educated guesses, but they're just guesses. And so we learned a long time ago, several years ago, to get away from targeting or worrying about metrics and worrying more about relevancy. And knock on wood, it's worked really well for us and for our students that follow, because we go through update after update after update and haven't seen any significant loss of anything, because we're not targeting metrics. We're not following metrics, or chasing metrics, I should say. So I would recommend relevancy over metrics any day of the week. The problem with PBNs is unless you get a highly themed network, right? Private blog network. So you get your content placed or your links placed on networks, private blog networks that are highly themed and relevant to your target URLs, that could be powerful. But if the problem is, most private blog networks, in order to get more customers and more revenue from those networks, they're more generalized blogs, and those tend to not be as powerful unless the blog sites themselves have incredibly high metrics. But again, I don't recommend that. I would rather you go look for expired domains. I think that's kind of a, looking for expired domains with relevancy is better. But even then, I think that's more work and more money and effort than it's really necessary, because you can create your own relevancy using Google properties, right? And that's what we've been teaching for several years now. For example, RYS Academy. That's an RYS Academy Reloaded, which teaches you how to use Google Drive properties to push authority and relevancy. And we, provide that service as a done-for-you service with our RYS Drive Stack service at MGYB. And Marco, he doesn't use PBNs at all, because he accomplishes everything that a PBN could have, or even expired relevant domains could, with Drive Stacks and Google Sites, right? And in link building to those Drive Stacks and Google Sites. And that's exactly what we're talking about here with the iframe stuff that we're doing now. It's like incredibly powerful. You can inject relevancy through the Drive Stack, through the Google site, through iframes, and then you can throw the kitchen sink at that stuff. Even if it's your iframed or linked directly to your money assets, you can throw the kitchen sink at the Google properties, because they'll take it like a champ and essentially launder any negative effect to where all you're going to get is additional benefit, like ranking benefit from it. Marco, you want to talk about that a bit?
No, you said it perfectly well. I'd rather do my things that I can control. That I can control the content, the embeds, and if it needs to be taken, like if I need more power, what I'll do is I'll point an extra Drive Stack and G site at an inner page, right? You know how I do it, because I just build them out. They're satellite. They're like PBNs, except there's no such thing as a PBN anymore.
Yeah.
It's private blog network. No, you're buying a domain to provide a link for your website. That's something totally different than what used to be done, which is you used to buy into the network so that you could link in the network back to your website, and all of that activity in the private blog network would help out by throwing relevance, trust, and authority and everything else at your website. Well, like Bradley said, I can accomplish that much quicker, much more powerfully, by just working in what I know, which is Drive Stacks and G sites. And since that's what I know, and I know how much power is in those, what I'll do is I'll create that, then I'll set up a press release stack, aim that at the G sites plus Drive Stack, at everything, right? Something will be pointed at everything, 5, 6, whatever, however many press releases it takes. Then you take all of those URLs and you just do link building, and it just works beautifully well, as you just showed with your link building example and the results that you got. And then to top that off, you get some traffic in there and validate everything, so that Google say, "Oh, this is lovely, thank you very much," and that's it. Instead of going and you have to host, and you have to go look at the backlink profile, you have to make sure that there wasn't spam, that there were no Chinese subdomain, just so many different things that you have to do. I don't want to deal with it. Thank you very much. I create my own.
That's it. So Troy's up. He says, should photos for GMB be geotagged from different service locations they were taken from, or always the business address? What's better for SEO? Well, if it's a service area business, Troy, it's absolutely better to be geotagged. Like if you can get real photos that were taken from mobile devices that have the geotagging, or essentially like where they would stamp the EXIF data from where the location that they're taken, which those are for service area businesses, that is way better. That is absolutely better. But you can still geotag images throughout the service area from like using EXIF data, editors, for example. So like I use GeoSetter. My team uses GeoSetter, which is a desktop software, but there's online versions of it and things like that, where you can actually add geo coordinates, NAP, name, address, phone number. You can add keywords, categories, all that kind of stuff to the actual data, the metadata of the photos. And so if my team is working remotely and a client, for example, isn't providing me with original photos that were taken from mobile devices from around their service area, then my team will go out and generate photos. We talk about multiple ways to do that, but then they'll geotag the images using GeoSetter in different locations within that service area, so that not all of the now if it's a storefront business where the customers come to the business location, that's what I would call a storefront business, right? Then yeah, you can just hammer away at that specific address, that specific location, geo coordinate, right? But for service area businesses, it's best to spread it out across your whole service area. That way it starts to, Google starts to really create a map, a link between all of those images and your business, and it can help to expand your Google My Business footprint, so to speak. Does that make sense? So it depends on what kind of business it is, but absolutely for service area businesses, I think you're better off doing geotagging. If you can get original photos, that's your best bet. Guys, for my clients that do provide photos, I got a few of them. I've got a couple roofers that provide me photos. I just got a photographer client, believe it or not, that, you know, obviously he provides me with original photos. But what I do is just set up a Google Photos album, a shared Google Photos album, and then I link my blogger, like I share the album with the client or any of the client's, you know, associates or whatever, if other people other than just the owner is taking photos. And then I share it with my blogger or my bloggers, depending on who the client is and how many people are actually, you know, producing content for that client. And so that way all they have to do is just go to the Google Photos album and download the photos and use those and then upload them as GMB posts or within blog posts or wherever they're using them, period. And they're already geotagged and they've been always stored and held within the Google ecosystem. So it's very, very powerful. And it's just a very convenient way for us to store the photos. And it's easy for the clients too, because most of them are just taking photos from their phone anyways. So they just set up the Google Photos app to where whenever they take a photo, it automatically gets inserted into you know, into Google Photos, and then they can move them around between albums and things if they want. But most of my clients would just move them into the shared photo album that we have access to so that my bloggers can access those photos at any time. And it works really well. Problem is most clients will not provide you with photos. They just won't do it. They might tell you they will do it, but a lot of them won't. But the ones that do, that's the great way to do it. Next question, GMB, will having both service area set and business NAP address set in the GMB cause a filter or negative SEO from Google? Yes. If it's service area only, then only use a single city point, one city point, or surrounding city points for maps listings. If I'm not quite sure I understand that question. If it's a service area business, you're supposed to hide the address, right? There are some exceptions where it can be a service area business, but sometimes customers do come to the business. Like, for example, businesses that have showrooms. So kitchen remodeling companies is one of them. Here's an example, guys, because kitchen remodeling companies, they're service area businesses because they go to the customer's house or location to install the kitchens. But a lot of kitchen remodeling companies will have showrooms where they have, you know, mock kitchens set up with different cabinetry and countertops and that kind of stuff, flooring options and stuff like that they'll use. So those are one of the exceptions where you can have a service area business and still show the actual physical location. However, that you can trigger a suspension by having a service area business and still showing or trying to show the physical location, the physical address, even in the case of kitchen remodeling companies, at which point you can contact Google My Business support and explain what the deal is, and that they will reinstate the listing if it's a valid business that you can prove is a business, and you have a unique situation like that where it's one of the few acceptable situations or acceptable times where that can occur, then they will reinstate the GMB for that. But again, for most service area businesses, you're going to, by Google's own terms of service, you're going to want to clear the address from the GMB profile before publishing it. Does that make sense? Or before adding your service areas. So you got to verify it first. And if you verify it the traditional way, which is via snail mail or postal mail, then once you verified it, before you go in and edit the info and add your service areas, you're supposed to open up the location setting and clear the address. And then you go into the next section, which is adding your service area, and start adding in your individual service areas or by city or by county or however you want to do it. If that makes sense. Okay. But again, there are some specific situations that are exceptions to that rule, but you still may trigger a suspension, in which case you have to contact Google support. James says, hey guys, have you got any recommendations for directory style plugin or WordPress theme? Many thanks. I haven't built any directory style stuff in a long time. So I don't have any recommendations, James. I'm sorry. I would just suggest just doing a Google search for directory style WordPress theme or directory WordPress theme, or if it's for local businesses, do local business directory WordPress theme, and just look through some of them. What I would recommend though is you go with a theme developer that has good standing, that's been around, it's been established, been around for a long time. Because if you go and if you go with you know, like a WSO or a JVZoo type of theme provider, which they're a dime a dozen guys, it's very likely that in 2 years from now they won't support it anymore. So if you're going to spend the time building a directory theme or a directory site on WordPress, I recommend that you only go with a very well established long-term company that's been around for a long time. Again, do not go with one of them budget JVZoo type offers or WSOs or, you know, Warrior Form type stuff, Warrior Plus, whatever type. Trust me, I've bought a lot of those themes over the years because they looked great, and the sales, you know, you buy them on launch special and things like that. And then within a year, 18 months, they no longer support them. And, you know, updates break the themes, and then you're screwed. And then you have to go back through and find another theme and rebuild the site, you know, reconfigure everything. And it's just a pain in the ass. So you're much better off going with well-established theme developers. Okay. Next, sorry me again. Any tools you can recommend to scrape business directory listings, job advertisements that are easy to and doesn't have a big learning curve? Many thanks. No, because I don't really use any. I've tried to use some like Home Advisor and Yellow Pages scrapers that I've bought from just random, you know, developers by doing Google searches and finding, and I found most of them are junk. They're just crap and they don't work, or they just suck. So I don't really know. I know if you're just trying to scrape leads, I would recommend one of two things. One is Leads Recon. If you go to semanticmastery.com/leadsrecon, that's by Ted Chen, the developer. He's the same developer of PowerSuggest Pro, which is our favorite keyword tool of all time, and also of TubeSift, which is a great tool for building YouTube advertising placement lists. So Ted Chen's a great developer, and Leads Recon is a great tool for scraping really highly, like great email addresses for local businesses, because it scrapes both Google Maps as well as, so GMB essentially, Google My Business, as well as Facebook. And what's great about it is it's not a great tool for like building massive contact lists, but it's great for more targeted lists. We're like for our video emails or our video lead gen system, where we talk about targeting very narrowly, or like laser-like targeting of prospects, which, by the way, video lead gen system is one of our products to talk about how to prospect using video email. It's very, very effective. And I'm actually updating that currently right now because I'm doing prospecting for monetizing GMB assets. And we're going to be relaunching that next month with all the updates in April. So, you know, I highly recommend, if you guys are doing prospecting for either client work or for lead gen assets that you have that you need to get monetized, that you would be on the lookout for the update for video lead gen system that's coming next month. In that, though, what I was saying was with semanticmastery.com/leadsrecon, why I'm telling you that is because you can get it at a discount through our link, number one. But number two, it's a great tool for developing really highly targeted lists, because it will go scrape Facebook pages and find like Yahoo and Gmail email addresses. And for some of those people who still have AOL email addresses, you'll find those. So you get most of the time direct to the business owner. But if you want to do mass scraping, I would still recommend using something like Lead Kahuna. We don't have an affiliate link for that, but you can contact David Sprague, a Local Genius or whatever they call, and find out if you can get a link to purchase that. I think that's about $300 a year, but that works really well if you're building massive prospecting lists. Okay. Good question. Blue Line says, hello, everyone. I want to create a YouTube channel for a local business lead gen. Can you please show an example of the right way to choose a name for the channel and for the company? Or should it just be city plus industry? No, don't do city plus industry, because that's too generic and it's too spammy. So come up with something that's, you know, semi-branded. Like, you know, you could use, I don't know, just come up with something that's a pseudo brand, something that could be thought of, as somebody glanced at it, they wouldn't immediately know that it was just a spam, you know, an SEO creating a spam site or a spam channel. Right? If you just do city plus industry, it's very apparent to anybody that knows anything about digital marketing what you're doing. So if you can come up with a branded name instead, I would recommend that you do that. Okay. So absolutely come up with a brand name. Also, is it good to include the exact keyword in each title name for every social network like Tumblr and Google site? Thanks a lot. Well, no, it's not. I mean, You can, but I don't recommend it because, again, that looks spammy right off the bat. Number two, if you were to use an exact match domain for a self-hosted website, that puts the Google filter, it lowers the threshold for you to trigger spam filters. So why is it any different for social media? I mean, yes, guys, I know people spam that shit all the time. I get that. But what are you want to build something that is a short-term asset that produces revenue for a short period of time because it is still working now, spamming your titles and your titles for pages and stuff like that? Or would you rather produce a longer-term asset that 2 years down the road is still producing revenue for you because you didn't spam it to death now? You see what I'm saying? We try to produce more longer term assets. I don't like the churn and burn strategy. I don't like building something that produces revenue for me and in 6 months, a year, 18 months down the road, I have to rebuild it all because I did something spammy to get initial results. Does that make sense? I'd rather take a little bit more effort on the front end and create something that's branded that I could create a brand around that then is going to have longevity so that my effort will pay off in the long run. If that makes sense. So I highly recommend that you don't stuff keywords into titles and things like that. You can create keyword relevancy, guys, through the content, right? And how you structure the assets. If you know about silo structure and things like that, you can silo pretty much anything. It's what you do with content marketing. It's how you silo, right? So you can establish the keyword relevancy through your content and how you structure your content. It doesn't have to be through the titles. Yes, you will get a boost by including the keywords in your titles. But again, if it looks spammy, then you're actually doing your project a disservice. Okay. Next is Kevin. He says, is there a way to check keyword rankings by bulk? Yeah. I mean, I just showed Pro Rank Tracker here. That's one of the services that I use for tracking a lot of keywords in bulk. If you're doing local stuff, Bright Local is great. I love Bright Local. That's what I do to track all my client stuff. So yeah, you can do it either way. Anybody have any other suggestions? Okay, moving on. Dewan says, I'm trying to rank your service area business. Last week, you suggested that I use press releases and blogs through Syndication Network to do so. The company does not currently have a blog. If we create one, how often do you suggest to post a blog article to benefit from the Syndication Network? That's going to depend, Dewan, on the competition level. Also, look at the industry. Like, what is the industry standard? Now, for example, a lot of contractors don't blog at all. And that's a pretty standard procedure for my business and my clients is we blog. A lot of clients, though, like we've moved away from doing blog posts regularly on their blog and doing more GMB stuff, but we still do blog on their blog, like from their self-hosted site if we've been blogging in the past. But in other words, for example, like, a lot of contractors just don't blog at all. Well, we do. So we might only blog once a week or once every other week, depending on what their budget is, right? And what else we're doing as part of our overall strategy for their SEO service for the month. But I'll give you a really good example. I trained my VA, one of my bloggers. She's in the UK. Her name's Michelle. She's great. And she does blogging for several of my clients, and she does Q&A posts because Q&A posts, guys, question and answer posts are great. Google loves them. If you don't believe me, just go do searches for whatever industry you're in and ask questions in the Google, like in the Google search bar, or voice them in through voice search and ask questions that a customer looking for that product or service would ask. Like, how much does tree removal cost? Just, guys, go into another tab right now and type that into Google and hit search. And you'll see there are question and answer boxes right on the Google search page, the search engine results page. So what you can do is train your bloggers, if you're doing it yourself, which I don't recommend, go start asking various questions in Google around the products, like as if you were looking for that product or service that you're trying to promote, and start compiling those questions and click the little accordion menu, the drop down, which will open up the answer, and start recording down some of the answers. Then you can use those questions and answers to create blog posts. Those are fabulous blog posts, guys. They're great blog posts to create. And you can combine or group similar questions into blog posts that contain multiple questions and answers that are kind of closely related, or you can break them out into shorter, more individual question and answer posts. Then once you post them on your blog, then you publish a GMB post, a Google My Business post, that highlights that blog post and links back to that blog post. Now you're getting deep links from Google My Business, back to your blog. And if you can include local relevancy into those Q&A posts, that's how you're going to start ranking for, those types of, you're going to help your GMB asset to rank as well. So again, it really just depends on, what your budget is, what your overall strategy is for your client. Depending on the industry, a lot of industries, I deal mainly with contractors, and most contractors do not blog regularly. Well, mine do. It depends on the frequency, depends on what their budget is and what really the needs are, because it wouldn't make sense to do 3 posts a week for a roofing client if we got them ranked already, or if we could get away with doing 1 post every 2 weeks and rank them. I typically, when I'm pitching a client on SEO services, I recommend starting off with 1 or 2 blog posts per week for most contractors, unless, like I said, it's an industry that has got more content frequency, is publishing content more regularly, in which case we'll increase the volume. Like, I've got one pest control client that we've been doing 3 blog posts a week for 6 years. So, and they rank for a ton of stuff, and they get a ton of traffic, not even local traffic. I mean, they get a lot of local traffic, but they also get a lot of traffic nationally because of all the the questions and answers and the posts that they've been posting for 6 years. So they just got a lot of content, is what I'm saying. Okay. But yeah, definitely. If you're using syndication networks, you should be blogging regularly, because that's one of the engines that helps to drive the whole process. Ken's up. He says, I've been researching LD or JSON LD. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what schema markup goes on the home page and what schema markup goes on the internal pages. What's the differences? Do I just put the same schema markup on all the pages? He says he looked at builtvisible.com, which is a great blog. Good info, but seems to be out of date and doesn't answer my question, doesn't talk about ad ID. Could you talk about this? And are there trusted resources that you could point me to and towards answering my question? Well, I answer it briefly, Ken. It depends on your type of site, right? What goes where and all that. If you've got a multi-location, okay, let's start simple.
Hey, Bradley.
Go ahead.
I added. It doesn't show the reply. I guess you'll have to refresh the page. I don't think you need to do that. But I added the schema.org search results for JSON LD, which is what Google recommends. Why go with, instead of RDFA or any other type of schema? Because Google tells you, give us JSON LD. That's what they've coded their bot to read. So why do something else when Google is telling you, this is what we want, this is what we prefer, this is what you should do? And so everything is there. And then if you look in there, Ken, you'll see that it'll have something like events. Well, if it's not something that's on the home page, then obviously the schema wouldn't go on the home page for events. It would go wherever you created your event. So just go to schema.org and search, for example, JSON LD.
Yeah,
Bradley. And I gave Ken the reference page, because that's all you have to do. And you look through there and you put on the home page or site wide the company information site wide. Now, if you're doing different cities, then all of those different cities wouldn't get the same JSON plus LD information, right? Because you'd have a different city, different address. Maybe the company name changes a little bit if you're doing the city name in the company. So you just have to work out what makes sense for you. Sorry, but I just wanted to give him that answer. You go ahead and finish it off.
Yeah, so what I was going to say was start simple. If it's for example, if it's a local business site with one location, then you can put JSON LD local business markup in the HTML header site-wide. It's perfectly fine, right? That means every single page, every post is going to have the JSON LD structured data markup for local business. It's perfectly fine to do if it's a one location local business. If it's a multi-location business, then you want to use organization markup site-wide. And then on individual location pages, if you've got separate inner location pages, which I would recommend you do unless you're using subdomains with separate sites per location, then on those individual location pages, you would put the local business markup. So each page would have its own, you'd have to use something like SEO Ultimate Plus, which is the best WordPress SEO WordPress plugin, or you could use something, if you're using another SEO plugin that doesn't give you the ability to inject separate header codes and body codes and footer codes on a page-by-page basis, then you can use something like Sogo header and footer plugin, which is a WordPress plugin. It's free, and it will allow you to inject different codes, header and footer and body codes on different pages. So my point is, if you've got a multi-location business that has location pages for each specific location as inner pages, then the organization markup can still go site-wide, but on each individual location page, you would have the separate local business markup. Does that make sense? If you're using subdomains, that's easy because each subdomain would get its own local business structured data markup that can go site-wide for each subdomain site because it's its own independent entity, so to speak, right? All right, so that's number one. Number two is this right here. If you talked about ad ID pages, this right here is semrush.com. You can look at the schema markup for companies-corporations. You guys, you can search this in Google. I'll drop the link here in a minute. But this is where I really learned about the ad ID. This is what triggered the ad ID trick, or the iframe loop, as we call it, that I kind of created that method somewhere back around January of last year. Yeah, 2018. And it was because of this article here, because I was doing, like, we had, as part of local business structured data markup, there is an ad ID field, right? There's a field that you have to place a URL in. And everybody had always said, just put the website URL there. Well, there's a website URL field, and then there's the ad ID field. And so we were just using the same website URL for both. One day I was doing some research for something else, and I came across this article, and I started reading it. And right down here where it says, what is this? Ad ID. And I read this section right here. It's just from here, guys, down to about here. And that's it. But what it did was it explained to me that the ad ID page, this is a unique URL that identifies the company, and it's up to you to choose what the URL will be. It can be a URL that returns a page, a URL that returns detailed information in various formats, or as in this case, a URL that returns nothing. The aim here is to have a unique identifier for the entity. So like a universal resource indicator, right, guys, like a URI, right? So that's when I read this, it made the light bulb go off, like, oh my gosh, I know how we can use this. And that's where I developed the local iframe loop method. And that's where we create the ad. And I can't give it away here. You have to be in one of our paid programs to get it. But we create an ad ID page where we put all this really good data and all of the most powerful entities or assets all in one location that then becomes the ad ID. And then we use that to do a lot of nasty iframe stuff that we teach in ROIS Academy. And that's been incredibly powerful. Like, that is standard operating procedure for every single local asset that we build now. It's part of it. It's just like clockwork. We build the ad ID iframe loop, and that's where, like, that is our starting point and becomes our target, our main target for all of the external link building stuff that we do. But not the website, guys, the ad ID page, right? And it's because of what I read right here on this article. It's this long. And I was done, like, that right there really is what spawned that idea. And it's just been working like crazy. Okay. So there you go. Next. Okay. Dewan says, I have a new client and their goal is to rank in maps. Would you suggest building out citations with the business.site address and not their typical website? No, I wouldn't. If they have a self-hosted website, Dewan, if they've already got like their own branded domain and all that, use that, right? The .business.site, so the GMB website, that's just another asset that you can build that you can do all kinds of cool stuff with. I would love to give you a really good idea here on what you can do with that. But again, it's more back to the iframe stuff that I can't really reveal on a free setting like this. Guys, come join the mastermind, Dewan. You've got a lot of really good questions. You've got clients. You probably got revenue coming in. You want to get your client results, come join the mastermind, because we're sharing all kinds of stuff. In fact, I'm expanding on this whole ad ID thing right now for a multi-location business specifically that I have that's got 20 locations. And I've started building something out to expand upon our iframe loop method that incorporates all this stuff that we're talking about. And I've only got about 20. I just started building it out about a week and a half ago. And I've only got about 20% of it complete because I'm doing it myself and it's a lot of work. I got about 20% complete and is already producing incredible results across the board, like meaning all 20 locations are starting to get better results from just about 20% of them, about four of the locations actually being in this new system that I'm developing, which is, like I said, is kind of an expansion of the iframe loop thing. I'm going to be, hopefully I'm trying to get it completed by next Thursday, which is our next mastermind webinar, where I'm going to share it. So, but yes, the business.site still use that. Absolutely build that. Guys, flesh those out with content. I just did one today that I put a 1,500 word article on. Actually, it might even have been a 2,000 word article on that. And like, I haven't hit the limit yet of how much content you can put on the GMB website page. Like, you know, the posts only have a 1,500 character limit, but the GMB website, so far, I haven't found the limit. And I put, I think it was either a 1,500 or a 2,000 word article on it today, because I'm testing different configurations. And so I'm saying flesh those out really well. Use the bold function, because you can't manipulate like header tags and things like that on the GMB website, but you can bold stuff, you can underline stuff, you can italicize stuff. That's like 19 or like 2005 SEO stuff. But you can still do that as kind of an indicator. Don't spam your sites, but what you know, on page, don't on page spam them. But you can do things to kind of indicate to Google what the important keywords are on the GMB website, and use that, guys. You can use that as part of the iframe loop stuff. You can use that internally on the site in specific ways. You can kind of just remember, we teach in Syndication Academy how to create a footprint. You know, instead of hiding your footprint, you want to create a footprint between all of your branded assets. Well, use the Google My Business as part of that, right? You want to link from that out to some of your top branded assets, link from the GMB website to those, and then link from your top branded assets to your GMB website, as well as your other top branded assets. So you create like a little mini network of entity profiles, right? It's very, very powerful. But Dewan, there's a lot of good questions, man. You got to come join the mastermind. So Dan says, hey guys, 2 questions. Where can I find different accepted business types for local business for JSON markup? Oh, that's why I pulled this up. Right here, guys. This is the most up-to-date list that I know of. I don't know who manages this, but this has been, I come to this because it changes often, guys. This is, I'll drop this link. It's a shared Google Doc. You can't edit it. It's view only. I don't know who maintains it, but it's updated fairly regularly. And so you can just scroll through here and find your specific business type that you need what is the best or the most current suggested schema markup type, the @ type, and you can find it in here. You'll see a lot of them are like home and construction businesses and, you know, things like that, whatever, professional services, but they're constantly updating these when they have new validated schema markup types that, new categories that schema.org has validated or accepted. Does that make sense? So let me go ahead and publish this.
Yeah, he can also do a search again in schema.org. It's really robust, and it shows you all the business types.
Okay. All right. I don't know why it makes me do this every time. Next is Albert. He says, how does, number 2, I'm sorry, I missed your second question, Dan. He says, if I have for example, 10 GMBs, all the same name with the exception of city appendages, is it okay to do batch press releases on all at the same time? Or do you feel a big footprint will be established? Well, I mean, if they're all separate GMB assets, then, you know, they have unique, location details, right? So it's unique NAP. The name, even the name is unique because it looks like you're appending the city name to the actual the name, the business name. So it is really unique, right? There is a commonality there, but they are all unique. So I don't know. I haven't had any problems with it. We've used similar, like a pseudo brand name where it was the city plus the pseudo brand name for 70 some assets that we built out. And we've only had a handful of them suspended. And our standard operating procedure was, after the iframe loop was built, was to go out and publish a press release, right? One of the things that we do is include the media room iframe in the ad ID page. And so one of the, again, it's just like syndication networks, right? We tell you guys, you want to prime the networks, publish a couple posts. Once you get the networks built or you build them yourselves, first put some seed content on them before you start automating posts to them via IFTTT. But then once you get your network seasoned a little bit, then start publishing posts from your blog that get syndicated to the networks before you start hitting your networks with a shit ton of backlinks. So the same thing, the GMB assets, we produce do all the on-page work. Then we build the off-page iframe loop, which is like the first step. And then we publish a press release. And then from there, we start doing the on-page work, like on the content marketing, which is primarily driven through GMB posts right now. Does that make sense? So I haven't had any problems with it. I think, Dan, especially if they're newer GMB assets, it kind of makes sense because you're announcing like a new business, right? That's a perfect excuse to use a press release. Albert says, guys, we're going to run out of time here. Albert says, how does traffic affect rankings? I wanted to get to this to Tico, too. He's a new mastermind member. He just joined yesterday. So I'll get to that in a minute. How does traffic affect rankings? Well, if it's good traffic, validated, like traffic that isn't just like random traffic to your site, it's a great signal. Like if traffic comes to your site and engages, there's dwell time, there's scroll depth, there's click-throughs to other pages or activity on the page, such as clicking to watch a video or to listen to an audio player or to expand accordion menus. Guys, that's a simple hack that you can do to your websites. If it's GMB stuff, you can't really do this. But for a website, guys, I just talked about question and answer posts. Using Q&A posts, guys, they're fabulous because Google loves them. If they didn't love them, then there wouldn't be Q&A boxes right in the SERP results, right? So Q&A posts, guys, are perfect examples of how you can add engagement to your posts and get engagement signals from visitors because you can put the question just like Google does in an accordion menu, right? To where the only way to reveal the answer is to click the down arrow or the plus button or whatever it does to reveal the answer. Because that's an engagement signal. Same as scroll depth, right? If somebody scrolls down the page or they dwell on the page for an extended period of time or they click a link that takes them to another page or they submit a form or they click a video or they click an audio player or they click to expand an image, all of those things are engagement signals. Random traffic, I don't know that there, I guess there is some benefit to it, but I think it depends on what type of website you're trying to promote. If it's local stuff, random traffic from way outside of this, where it would be geographically relevant to get traffic doesn't typically help that much, but local traffic where it's within a particular geographic area is incredibly powerful, especially if it's traffic that is interested and Google knows that the visitor has an interest in that content, right? Which is what in-market audiences are. So you can buy that kind of traffic from Google directly. That's what we teach in the YouTube traffic training. And recently, we've taught how to do that with the Google Display Network, which is exponentially cheaper than search traffic, like buying search traffic from Google Ads. Google Display Ads, guys, is a fraction of the cost of buying search traffic, but you can get geo-targeting and you can get topical relevant, or topical targeting, audience targeting that way. It's incredibly powerful. We just talked about that on the last Mastermind webinar last week. So. All right, let's see. We're going to answer this, and then I think I have to go. Yeah, because I got to run, guys. It's almost 5 o'clock. So I want to answer this one from Tico, one of our new Mastermind members. He's asked this specifically, and we're going to be covering this in depth next Thursday on the Mastermind webinar. Again, I'm going to be sharing a multi-location project that I'm working on right now on how to expand the iframe loop method. I'm already seeing results, and again, I'm only about 20% through the project. So I'm going to be sharing that next week. He says, if I choose to create my cities and subdomains, all I have to do is create the subdomain and create the website, or do I have to do any special configuration? So what he's asking about is if he's doing multi-location, business or sites for a business. If a business has multiple locations, and he wants to use subdomains. So I'm assuming he's got a self-hosted site. So there's a branded domain there, and the company wants to, or has multiple locations, or wants to expand into multiple other cities. Well, then I've always recommended doing a city subdomain from the branded domain. So let's just say it's Joe's Plumbing, for example. Then doing like culpepper.joesplumbing.com, Fairfax. And these are Virginia cities, but Fairfax.joesplumbing.com and Richmond.joesplumbing.com, and then building a separate, installing a separate WordPress site or whatever type of site, but I would typically use WordPress on each individual city subdomain. And the reason why is because it protects the actual root domain for in case you were to do anything spammy, which we really don't do anything spammy anymore. So I don't know why that's incredibly necessary still, but I've just always tried to hedge any risk, right? To mitigate any potential risk. That, guys, if you have, for example, if you were to do the same thing with inner pages, so joesplumbing.com/Culpeper, joesplumbing.com/Fairfax/Richmond, whatever, then if any one of those individual pages for the locations that you did something spammy and it caught a penalty, it could actually, that penalty will be levied across, will be domain wide, right? It will affect the SEO value of the entire site, which means it would help, it could potentially pull down any rankings that you have in each of the other cities. So by doing separate individual WordPress installations on subdomains, then what that does is each one of those are considered separate entities, right? There is a connection, but if you're doing like your content marketing, for example, from each individual subdomain, then if you were to catch a penalty on any one of those subdomains, it would only be affect that one subdomain, not any of the sibling domains, subdomains, or the root, right? If you catch a penalty on the root, it can affect all of the subdomains though. So my point is you want to protect the root. That's really what I'm getting at. So yes, if you're using self-hosted site with a branded domain and you want to do multiple city locations, then I've always recommended, and to a point, guys, obviously if you're doing like, 100 cities, I don't recommend having 100 WordPress installations. I don't, because that's a pain in the ass to manage. In that case, I would do inner pages, but I would make, be damn sure that I wasn't doing anything real spammy. And again, we don't teach anything that's super spammy for money site stuff anyways, right? Because of that reason. And again, knock on wood, I haven't had any problems, but I always want to reduce potential risk. And that's, it's about this, it's the egg in the basket analogy. If you put all of your eggs in one basket and you lose the basket, you're screwed. You don't have any eggs left. But if you spread your eggs out across multiple baskets, then you can lose any one of the baskets and you still got a bunch of eggs left. Does that make sense? And that's really what we're talking about here. Now, if you are doing subdomain sites, and here's the thing, guys, even if you're not using self-hosted websites, if you've got a branded domain and you've got a brand and you want to start building GMB assets to expand in other cities, you can absolutely still do it with a domain. Just you can do a subdomain redirect to your GMB websites and use your GMB websites as the primary domain for each location. And in fact, again, the 20 location project that I'm working on right now that I'm going to be sharing the method next Thursday on the Mastermind webinar, that's what I'm doing. I used to have subdomain sites, WordPress installations for for about 14 of these locations, but I've added 6 locations in the last few months. And I honestly said, I'm tired of dealing with all those WordPress sites. So I've actually just transferred the website content from the WordPress sites, the homepage website content from the WordPress sites over to the GMB websites. And now I have a redirect from the subdomain, the branded subdomains, to the GMB website. So all of my citations that were built on the web for the 14 locations that I had subdomain sites for already, it doesn't affect any of them because the destination is still, like the target URL is still the same in the citations, but it just redirects to the GMB website. Does that make sense? And so again, you don't even need to go out and build look, I'm not building WordPress sites now unless it's a requirement by a client. Otherwise, I'm just going to continue building GMB assets for now because it's working really, really well. And I'm able to accomplish what I want, which is generate leads using GMB assets, which are free and much, much, much easier to build and maintain. So, but if you are going to have a self-hosted site, the root domain can be used in very strategic ways to help promote the individual subdomain sites or locations, depending on whether you're going to have a WordPress installation or not. And again, Tico, I'm going to be covering that next Thursday. Whether I've got the project completed or not, I'm going to share what I've got thus far next Thursday, and the results that I'm seeing too, which are pretty impressive. So, okay, Mike says finally something better than discussed. Thanks, Mike. I'm not sure I like it yet, but apparently if the questions are getting through, that's got to be better. So, anything else, guys, before I wrap it up? Everybody else?
All good here.
Everybody else bounced, huh?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. We will see you all next week. Thanks for sticking around, Chris.
Cheers.
Bye.